You can draw these in Procreate. In this easy tutorial, we're going to create a cute potted plant character together. Along the way, you will learn some really useful Procreate features, like working with the Symmetry guide, using layers for coloring, locking transparency with Alpha Lock, and adding shading to bring your illustration to life. By the end, you will have a finished illustration you can be proud of. So if you're ready, download the sketch and color palette, open up Procreate, and let's get started. First, open Procreate. Then go to the top right corner of the screen and tap the plus sign. This is where we can create a new canvas. Now choose Create Custom Canvas. For this tutorial, set the size of the canvas to 3000 by 3000 pixels with the DPI at 300. Once you've entered those numbers, just tap Create. And now we are inside our drawing workspace in Procreate. The first thing we will do is import the line art that I've prepared for you. To do that, go to the Range tool in the top left corner and then choose Insert a Photo or Insert a File, depending on where you've saved the PNG sketch file. Go ahead and bring that sketch into your canvas. Once it's imported, I will position the sketch neatly in the center of the canvas. Then let's rename this sketch layer so we stay organized. Tap on this layer, choose Rename, and call it Sketch. Next, let's create a new layer for coloring. Tap the little plus sign inside the Layers panel, and here's an important step. Drag this new layer below the sketch layer. That way, when we start painting, the colors will go underneath the lines. Now, return to the sketch layer for a quick adjustment. Change the blend mode to multiply, and lower the opacity to around 10%. This makes the lines nice and light, still visible to guide us, but soft enough that they won't distract from the coloring. With that done, head back to the new layer we just created. This will be our coloring layer, and we are ready to start adding color. For coloring, I'll be using one of my own brushes called Color Pencil 2, but don't worry if you don't have it. You can simply use the default 6B pencil from Procreate's sketching brushes. It gives you a very similar effect. Make sure you've also downloaded the color palette I've provided. That way you will have all the colors ready to go. When we start coloring, it's always best to begin with the elements that are furthest back in the composition. In this case, that means the flower pot. The pot is a symmetrical object, so we can make things easier by using the Symmetry tool. Let's go to the wrench icon, under Canvas, turn on Drawing Guide, and then Edit Drawing Guide, choose Symmetry, tap Done. Once you see the word Assisted underneath the layer name, that means we have the Symmetry turned on for this layer. Then we are ready to start drawing the pot. Once we've filled in the main color for the pot with pink, let's create a new layer. On this new layer, which is layer 3, tap on this layer and then also turn on Drawing Assist. Now we can paint the darker area of the pot. Next, let's also add the soil inside of the vase. Again, create a new layer and make sure to switch on Drawing Assist here as well. Since all of these shapes are symmetrical, we can use the horizontal symmetry tool to draw them. That way, everything stays perfectly balanced and it also makes the process a lot quicker. Now let's create one more new layer. On this layer, we will draw the last symmetrical element in our illustration, the little plant character. And to make it extra fun, let's give the plant a cute face by adding eyes and a mouth. Alright, now it's time to start drawing the leaves. Since the leaves aren't symmetrical, we can go ahead and turn off the Symmetry guide. After that, to create a new layer, this will be our layer 6. While painting leaves, it's good to think about space and overlap. My tip is to always start with the leaves that are furthest back and then work your way forward. Looking at this sketch, we can see that the leaves wrap around each other layer by layer. The ones at the very top are furthest away from us. And within that group, the leaf on the upper right is the furthest back, so let's begin by painting that one. Once that's done, create another new layer. This will be layer 7. On this layer, we can paint the folded part of this leaf, the side that's turned toward us. I also painted the upper left leaf on this layer, focusing on the part that is closest to us. Then going back to layer 6, I will also paint the upper left leaf's far side, the part that sits further in the background. So in total, I've used 2 layers to build these 2 top leaves, one for the back areas and another for the front areas. That way, the depth feels much cleaner in the final result. Next, let's move on to the middle group of the leaves. First, create a new layer. This is gonna be layer 8. On this layer, we'll start painting the main shape for the leaf that is sitting in the right side in the middle area. And then again, a new layer, layer 9, to draw the folded part of the leaf. This keeps the front and back area of the leaf separate, so we can work on them more easily in the next step. Now notice how the left leaf overlaps the right leaf in this group. To handle that properly, we will create one more new layer, layer 10, just for the left leaf. And then for the part that's further back in space, I actually painted it on layer 9 as well, just to save a layer. So in the end, we've used 3 layers, 8, 9 and 10 to complete this middle group of leaves. Don't worry if this layer setup feels a little complicated right now. I really encourage you to follow along with me step by step, and once you do, you will clearly see why I'm putting things up this way. Alright, now let's draw the last 2 leaves, the ones at the very bottom. As you're drawing along with me, you will notice that the more time you spend on drawing, the more natural it feels. That is really the best way to build your drawing habit, just a little practice every day. If you'd like more chances to draw together with me, I also create full real-time tutorials inside my drawing membership. These longer sessions cover everything from plants and food to characters, and you can simply follow along step by step. The link is in the video description, and right now there's an early bird discount, so don't miss it. You can see that once all the color blocks are filled in, I like to turn off the sketch layer and go through the different layers to refine the shapes. Sometimes I notice a bit too much empty space that needs filling, and other times a shape looks a little too perfect, so I adjust it to make it feel more natural and irregular. This quick cleanup step really helps bring the whole piece together. And if you're wondering how to move quickly between so many layers, don't worry, at the end of this tutorial I will show you where you can find one of my other videos that explain this step by step. During this checking step, it's also important to look at the colors. For example, in the middle group of the leaves, you might notice that 2 of them look a little too similar in color. When that happens, here's a simple trick. Use Procreate's adjustments tool and choose Hue, Saturation, Brightness. Then you can adjust the saturation or brightness until the 2 leaves feel more distinct from each other. This way, the colors are easier to read and the leaves don't blend together as if they are the same. It's one of the really handy features of digital drawing on the iPad, and I want to emphasize how useful it is to get comfortable with this tool. Next, let's add some details to the leaf. If you look at the reference, you will notice that each leaf has its own vein texture. This step is all about drawing those subtle lines to bring the leaves to life. Before we start, we need to lock the transparency of the layers we've already painted. To To do that, you can either tap on a layer and choose Alpha Lock, or simply swipe right with 2 fingers on the layers. With Alpha Lock on, any stroke you add will stay inside of the shapes you've already painted. That means the leaf veins won't spill outside of the leaf shapes. If you skip this step, it's like undoing all the careful work we did earlier when painting the color blocks. So make sure to lock the transparency on your leaf layers first, and then we can go ahead and draw in those leaf veins. When I start adding these small details, I like to begin with areas that take up the most space in my illustration. So here I will first draw the leaf veins on the large leaf in the lower left corner. At first, I used a pink color for the veins, and this is a good moment to talk about how to make your colors blend naturally. When you place a pink vein on top of a green leaf, the 2 colors should feel connected, not separate. Here's how I do it. When I draw the line, I start with a light, gentle stroke. This creates a soft gradient at the end of the line. Then I use the eyedropper tool to pick up the transition color where the pink blends into green. Once I have that new color, I continue painting with this new color. The result is a pink that feels perfectly blended with the green of the leaf. This way, the veins don't look pasted on top. Instead, they naturally flow into the leaf's color, which make the whole illustration look more harmonious. For the rest of the leaves, I won't go into too much detail since the process is exactly the same. If at any point you're unsure about how to place the veins, you can always turn the sketch layer back on, and if the lines still aren't clear, simply increase the sketch layer's opacity to guide you. Now, if you're wondering how I actually drew the sketch, that's something I go much deeper into inside my membership tutorials. In those longer sessions, I take the time to explain not just what I'm drawing, but also what I'm thinking while I draw. From studying the reference to building a good sketch to choosing colors, I walk you through the whole process step by step. If that sounds helpful, check out my membership link. There's also a free drawing guide available if you like to get a taste of how it works before diving in. Now that all the leaf veins are finished, let's move on to the final step. Create a new layer at the very top of your layer stack. On this layer, we are going to add some shading to deepen the colors. What does shading mean here? Well, whenever 2 objects touch, one will naturally cast a shadow on another depending on the light direction. In our drawing, we have so many overlapping leaves, and all of them are growing out from the pot. This means there will be areas where the leaf and the pot create subtle shadows on each other. So on this top layer, we will go in and deepen those areas that need extra depth. As you watch me shading here, pay attention to where I place the darker colors. Notice that I'm not just adding shadows everywhere. When you use your brush, vary the pressure. The lines should have light and heavy strokes with both thin and thick areas. This is very important, especially along the outer edges of the leaves. Don't just trace the entire outline with one solid dark line. Instead, create variation in thickness and depth. That way, the shading not only suggests the leaf's thickness, but also show where the light can't reach. Those little darker spots that give the drawing more realism. So this top shading layer, layer 13, is our final touch. And with that, the illustration is complete. I hope you enjoyed drawing along with me. The more fun you have while drawing, the more likely you will pick up your Apple Pencil again tomorrow. And that's how real progress happens. If you'd like to keep going, I also have another tutorial where we color a different little potted plant, which you might enjoy next. And if you're curious about how to quickly move between layers in Procreate, I have a dedicated tutorial on setting that up as well. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye!